On April 25, 2026, the American political and media elite gathered in Washington, D.C. for the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. It is the most heavily scrutinized media event of the year. The concentration of executive power in the room is immense. President Donald Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance are all seated under a single roof. For that reason, the venue operates as a temporary fortress. It is secured by overlapping layers of federal law enforcement, Secret Service agents, and strict access control protocols designed to screen every attendee. Then, gunshots interrupt the dinner. Security teams immediately rush the president out of the ballroom, evacuating the highest levels of the executive branch as panic overtakes the crowd. The suspect identified at the scene is Cole Tomas Allen, a 31-year-old from California. He ignored the designated protest zones outside and systematically bypassed security checks to infiltrate the building. An armed individual successfully carried an arsenal into the most secured social gathering in the country, placing a threat directly inside the perimeter of the executive protective detail. The movements of Cole Allen tell a story of deep, calculated premeditation rather than a spontaneous impulse. He spent weeks preparing for this specific night. He traveled across the country from California and secured a local hotel room in advance to serve as a staging ground for the infiltration. We know his motives directly. Court documents obtained after his arrest detail a written manifesto outlining exactly why he targeted the event. Inside that document, Allen explicitly identifies his target, labeling the president the destroyer of America. This schematic breaks down the arsenal he brought to Washington. Allen transported a pump-action shotgun, a .38 caliber handgun, and 3 separate knives into the Capitol. This combination of logistical mapping and heavy weaponry turned a domestic breach into a calculated operation against the Capitol. On the night of April 25th, the building was surrounded by a heavily guarded exterior perimeter. Law enforcement restricted access points and monitored the surrounding blocks. Allen moved directly through that outer security shell. He navigated past stationed police officers and federal agents while concealing his entire loadout on his person. The critical failure point occurred right at the entrance. Allen bypassed the building's exterior defenses and successfully penetrated the interior structure of the venue. He navigated the hallways until security personnel finally identified the threat and physically tackled him to the ground. He was arrested exactly 45 yards from the ballroom doors. Reaching the 45-yard line signifies a collapse of protective protocols. It means the exterior lines broke, the checkpoints failed, and a multi-weapon attack came within seconds of execution. Donald Trump survived the night, and Cole Allen is now in federal custody, where he faces life in prison for the attempted breach. Zooming out, a clear and disturbing historical pattern emerges. This incident marks the 3rd assassination attempt on the same target in just 2 years. This timeline maps out the threat. The first attack in Butler, Pennsylvania, used a wide outdoor perimeter from a nearby roof. 2 months later, Florida involved another wide outdoor zone. But for Washington, D.C., the perimeter shrinks, collapsing down to a tight indoor radius. Allen's manifesto leaves a critical question open. Investigators are still trying to determine who else might share his views, and whether this level of planning required co-conspirators. The shift from an outdoor rooftop to the hallways of an elite D.C. gathering shows a changing level of aggression. The distance is closing. If you want to track how political violence is changing the landscape of 2026, hit the like button and subscribe for our continued coverage.